Marjorie Taylor Greene suffers from a disease known as CRS. Can't remember. Here it is.
Are you telling us that in the more than a year since these events occurred, you have not become aware that one of the offices that was invaded by people who were illegally in the Capitol was Nancy Pelosi's office?
I've seen that on the news.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
Did you discuss with anybody attending the wild protest demonstration that was planned for January 6th?
I do not recall ever talking about attending.
Other than people on your congressional staff or your campaign staff, list for me all the people who you spoke to about the demonstrations on January 6th.
I'm sorry, I have no idea.
Okay. You don't remember any of them?
I do not remember.
Not any of them?
No.
Okay. And you spoke to some people about those demonstrations prior to being sworn in as a representative from the 14th District, right?
I don't remember.
And you spoke to some of those people after you took the oath on January 3rd and before the 6th, right?
I don't remember.
Did you speak to anybody in government about the fact that there were going to be demonstrations in Washington on January 6th?
I don't remember. We were mostly reading information about election fraud, and people signed affidavits about what they'd witnessed with voter fraud and preparing to object. That was pretty much all I remember doing.
Right, pretty much. But your testimony as we sit here today under oath is that you didn't talk to anybody in government about the fact that there were going to be large protests in Washington on January 6th.
I don't remember.
Oh, it doesn't stop there. Now, I have more video, but why is she under oath? She's under oath because citizens are doing what the Department of Justice does not have the guts to do, and that is to enforce the United States Constitution against members of Congress who provided comfort and aid to insurrectionists. Article 14, Section 3 of the US Constitution says that anyone who has engaged in an oath to serve in political office, i.e. Congress, if they are engaged or become engaged in an insurrection or provide aid and comfort to those who are, then they are no longer qualified to hold that office. The last time we utilized that provision of the United States Constitution was in 1919, because a member of Congress, according to the congressional record, provided aid and comfort to Germany. They called him a socialist and utilized that same provision of the US Constitution. It wasn't because of any insurrection, but they said he provided aid and comfort to those who did engage in insurrectionist behavior. There's more.
You spoke to Representative Biggs or his staff about that fact, didn't you?
I do not remember.
How about Representative Gosar?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Did you talk to people at the White House about the fact that there were going to be large demonstrations on January 6th in Washington?
I don't remember.
Prior to January 6th, Representative Greene, did anyone ever mention to you the possibility that there might be violence in Washington on January 6th, 2021?
I don't remember. The only violence I'd ever seen was Antifa and BLM riots, and I've been to so many Trump rallies, have never once seen violence out of Trump people.
Right.
I don't recall any talk of violence.
And you knew that the people who were coming for the demonstrations on January 6th, those were Trump people, right?
I knew there were many people coming to support President Trump and our objection on January 6th.
Right, and at least some of them were coming because you asked them to come, right?
I don't recall personally asking people to come, but evidently I tweeted about January 6th.
Ms. Greene, did you ever hear that from any source prior to January 6th that some folks were planning to come to Washington on January 6th, and the idea was that they were going to flood the Capitol with people?
No, I don't remember ever hearing that.
Okay. You never discussed that with anybody?
No, I do not remember that.
Okay, yeah, I think we've deciphered the code here. Every time she says, I do not remember, that means yes. I did it, But if I admit to doing it, then obviously I can no longer serve in the US Congress because I will in fact be in violation of Section 14, Article 3. There's actually more. She got caught lying in mid-sentence, basically. Here it is.
You've said that, haven't you, Ms. Greene, that she's a traitor to the country?
No, I haven't said that.
Okay. Please, Exhibit 5, please.
Oh, no, wait. Hold on now.
Ms. Greene, you've had your disagreements with Speaker Pelosi, isn't that right?
I'm not sure what you mean.
You've had political disagreements with her. You don't agree with some of the things she's done in her career, right?
Politically speaking, that would be correct.
Right. You don't agree with a lot of things she's done, right?
Politically speaking, that would be correct.
Yeah. And then she decides to do what we know people of her character will do, throw their staff under the bus for actions that she committed. Here it is.
Did you like a post that said it's quicker, that a bullet to the head would be a quicker way to remove Nancy Pelosi from the role of Speaker?
I have had many people manage my social media account over the years. I have no idea who liked that.
Okay.
Okay, and to the attorney, the next question should have been, well, madam, can you provide the name of that particular staff member? Because we need to make sure that there's an appropriate charge for terroristic threat against a sitting member of Congress. Regardless of your feeling about Nancy Pelosi, I don't have a whole lot of love for Pelosi myself, okay? Politically nor personally. But Marjorie Taylor Greene engaged in activity that warrants her dismissal from the United States Congress. Not only Marjorie Taylor Greene, but others as well. This is an important case because it sets a precedent that says you as a citizen have power. You are still the people in charge. Citizens brought this action against Marjorie Taylor Greene, cited the US Constitution. Once again, something that the Department of Justice should be doing, but they are not. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia was confronted in court on Friday over past social media posts advocating violence against Democrats at the hearing in Atlanta to determine if Greene is constitutionally barred from running for re-election because of her alleged role in the January 6th insurrection. The Congresswoman repeatedly said she could not remember past comments or interactions. CNN's K-File reported last year that prior to being elected to the US Congress, Greene had repeatedly indicated support for executing prominent Democratic politicians in 2018 and 2019 in comments and posts on social media. Now, we'll say this. The attorneys are operating, I think, in good faith on behalf of the citizens who engaged in this legal action against Marjorie Taylor Greene, and rightfully so. I said yesterday, and I stand by my statement, I would have taken a different contextualization of the constitutional section code that basically says if you have been engaged in an insurrection or if you provided aid and comfort. I would have focused on the aid and comfort part more so than her involvement in the prerequisite activity that led to the January 6th attack. That would have been context, but my primary objective would have been to prove the aid and comfort part, and then reminded the judge that in 1919, the United States government utilized that provision, the provision of aid and comfort, in order to dismiss a member of the US Congress. Waz, what are your thoughts on this?
You know, that's kind of been the most dispiriting thing about the January 6th situation is that so many people acted so obviously malevolently and just in brutal, awful fashion. People with actual power and responsibility, like Representative Greene, and it seems like there's not going to be any actual consequences or repercussions for those actions, right? People died, people got hurt, people got maimed behind this mass, basically riot up there at the Capitol, and the people in our society who are put in basically the biggest positions of power, tasked with making our rules and delegating our funds collectively, engage in this type of behavior. They're supposed to be held to the highest standard because we place so much responsibility in their hands. And to see that nothing's gonna happen is, it's more than annoying, it's disheartening. And, I think I'm somebody who thinks the actual impact of January 6th has been a bit overblown as far as like, you kind of need the military on board to stage an actual coup, which these people clearly didn't have. However, the signal that it sends to folks that's like, if you don't like how democracy works out, sometimes you can act out in violent and dangerous ways. I think that's a horrible message to be sending.
And I understand your point about the impact of January 6th. What concerns me, in addition to what they did, are the people who were involved. You had many members of the United States military, former military officials. You had current police officers. You had current elected officials and state government around the country who were involved. That means to me that the sentiment, the philosophy, the personality permeates in those cultures. So the military has that personality currently in their military culture. Elected sheriffs, they have that personality. Police officers have that personality. And so once again, you're right as far as the right now impact, but it could permeate and increase and enhance into something much more dangerous. And that's why the Biden administration needs to understand right now, democracy is fragile. They got to get on it.